touch with animals. And people, I mean, grown farmers bring the animals to her because she loves them, she talks to them, kisses them and all that. And so I have, I just, you know, I love this thing of being able, it's one of the things I love about what is called, quote, fame, you know, that what it really does, it makes it possible for you to do things you could not otherwise have done, and often for people who couldn't have done them for themselves. Now here's this girl who is a natural-born, fledgling veterinarian, and she didn't know of a chance to go to study. And it just happened, bless the Lord, that I'm on the board at Berea College, where they, among other things, they train people to become vets, not the vet school, but the pre-vet school. And so when I spoke to her about it, then I called up Berea and told them that I had this young lady whom I knew was it. And so next Saturday, she is going to Berea to meet the president. And she will enter Berea next September.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And the only question remaining now is, will she go to vet school at Auburn or at UT? I mean, I know
Fantastic.
she's got it. There's no question. Yeah.
That's
And
fantastic.
she's a marvelous young lady. She really is. She knows more about goats and cows than most farmers. Yeah.
Well, this is what seems incredible to me, and getting the chance to meet you. I heard you in your introduction on the stage say that you met some other people in Berea and that they were artists.
Yeah.
You bought out their shop. I mean, there's such a spirit here like that.
Well, hey, wait a minute. Now, here's a legend.
Yeah,
Come here. Do you know who this is?
yeah, we talked to him. But
People back here want to talk to you. They got a story for you, Alex.
Well, all right. Well, you got a story. You're a legend.
You'll be around a little bit.
Indeed, I will. Beautiful, beautiful. That's right. That's what I'm talking
He
about.
talked to me too.
Now, here's a guy. I love the story that Elliot was up there teaching, and it just wasn't going right. So he finally decided to let these kids do their thing. Now, Foxfire is literally an international legend, and it happened right here in Appalachia. You know, I'll tell you what I feel, and you can ask me some questions in a minute. Let me tell you some of my own things. I really think that this area has easily as much culture, as much cultural history, and as much cultural richness as New England as a region. And one of the things that just thrills me is, say, working with people like Elliot Wigginton, like Carson Brewer, like John Rice Irwin, numerous others of us who are in one another creative, blessed to be creative, to let this richness of culture here in Appalachia become worldwide known. And we're working on it, believe me, it's happening. Every year, this particular thing, this homecoming is getting bigger. That's just one part of it. That's the tip of the iceberg. But other things are that different ones of us are causing things to happen that wouldn't have happened otherwise. I'll tell you one, next month, I'm going to Morocco with Secretary Kissinger and Neil Armstrong. We go over there every year. We're members of the Royal Academy, and I'm going to invite them here. You know, people like that, you see, when they come somewhere, people start thinking, well, there must be something to it. Now, conversely, they will be fascinated here in Appalachia. I'll bet you Secretary Kissinger does not know what hominy grits are, you know. And if he knows that, he sure doesn't know what whole hominy is, you know, so forth. And these are things where everybody gets something, either way you turn it.
Definitely. Well, that's what's been so impressive to me coming from Indiana here is this tremendous spirit. Everyone is so friendly, and, you know, you're a famous author, and you just are so easy to talk with. And that's been the way everybody's been here.
Well, the only answer I could give you that was my grandma raised me well. No, it's true. I mean, where we were, the way we were, and that's the thing I love about this area too. People generally in this part of the country, I'm talking about the region called the South, were better raised than people in most other parts of the country. You know, here, if you talk back to your parents, you wouldn't even think about it. But if you got so daft as to do it, you would find yourself in a corner somewhere trying to recover consciousness. You know, it's the truth. And there was no kick about it. That's the way it was. And so you see people here now who are quite grown and who say yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and talk about words. Now, there's some words I never heard until I came here, which are fascinating to me, is papow. I never heard nobody call papow. Do you know what papow is?
No, I'm not familiar
It's
with
the
that.
Appalachian word for grandfather.
Oh.
And meemaw is the Appalachian word for grandmother. And I never heard those words before. But they just fascinate me. I don't know what the derivation is. I don't care. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And the book I'm going to be doing about Appalachia is finally I'm going to write about something I really love, and that is grandparents. And I want to write about a grandfather, an Appalachian grandfather, raising his grandson to be a mountain man. And there are 20,000 things you have to know to be a mountain man, from grass to plants to birds to animals to whatnot, trees. And I'm going on it that it'll be done something like in Roots, the little boy Kunta Kinte growing up, that every day he learned something in that culture he was part of. And I want it to be in this book that every day the little mountain boy will learn something from his grandfather, and through the boy, the reader will learn the things, like just any number of things. I couldn't even get started about the fascinating things there are in the mountains to know.
Well, this is your new book. When will it be out?
About this time next year.
About a year from now? Mm-hmm. That's great. I'm sure everyone will look forward to it as much as I will.
I'm the one that's looking forward to it, yeah.
I read that you have some college students helping you with this. Is this kind of a new thing for you?
No, it's not new. It's just that those students that you were talking about were at Berea College. I'm on the board at Berea, and the book is about Appalachia, and Berea has the best library on Appalachia there is. So what I had them doing was going through certain areas, I would say, get me information about sign painters. It used to be a big thing about people would paint signs on barns.
Yeah.
Like great big Rock City, or Sea Rock City, or something like that. Well, there is a whole thing to know about how those sign painters worked. I have found out who is the oldest living former sign painter. He lives up near Chattanooga, and he used to actually paint these Sea Rock cities. And I think they had a deal that if you would consent to a sign being painted on your barn, that then they would paint the whole barn free for you, as long as you let the sign be painted on there. And so that's how farmers tended to get their barns painted. And it's all, again, part of a culture. So I naturally want to go see that man who painted and talk to him about the composition of the paint, because the story also involves an artist. That's why Mitchell told. You saw him and his daughter singing up here. Mitchell is a brilliant young artist, and I'm going to sort of understudy with Mitchell how an artist comes out of being grandson to a sign painter, so forth. And so it's a book that will deal with Appalachia, but on the other hand, it deals with a creative culture.
Do you think that is something that people are responding to more and more? Of course, you had incredible success with Roots, but there seems to be a need almost in our lives to, go back and touch base with these traditions.
I don't think that's one of the few things I'd say I go so bold as to say I don't think I know. Look. Yeah. There's the creed. Look at the people. That's the answer right there. Look right behind you, Just Butcher. Now, Just Butcher is going to make me some gourd birdhouses.
I got some Chesney people that wants to meet you right there.
Okay, all right. Now, see, that's Mr. Culture. That's right. He makes, and they were I saw him last week at Sneedville. And he makes good birdhouses that'll make martins come down and look for the house. He knows just how big to make the hole, and he makes these little cedar houses. What are they for? Not martins, but what?
Bluebirds.
Bluebirds. But you see, to me, that's cultural richness. Yeah. That you go around and you find this person, that person, everybody you see, or many of the people you see are specialists in something. I expect just knows more about martin houses made out of gourds than anybody in this county. And you can look, there's Rick over there, little guy over there, Rick Stewart. His grandfather was Alex Stewart, Sneedville, who was the famous mountain man. His sister, Renee, I was telling you about, was standing over there just a while ago. Renee is the young lady who is about maybe 20, who is so good with animals that people bring their cows and horses who are sick to her, a young lady, simply because she loves animals, and animals seem to love her. And it was just such a joy last week in Sneedville that I think I was mentioning to, I arranged that Renee is going to Berea College for pre-vet training, and then she will go either to Auburn or UT, and I've already spoken to them for her veterinary school. And that's beautiful, to be able to help somebody realize their potential,
And that's that human spirit that I think our modern society somehow has either lost touch with or undervalues or something. I mean, it's just people reaching out to each other. It should be basic.
There's so many things. I tell you what, I notice a lot because I travel a lot. You go to New York and you get off the plane, and if I was blindfolded, I could tell you I was in New York Airport.
Right,
People are very short, brief. Taxi drivers snare.
Exactly.
Now the difference is you come along here in this part of the country, and you get in your car and you drive up and down any highway you want. You don't even have to know the people. You wave, and people will wave back to you as you drive by. There's something beautiful about that. You know, it's an extended family. People, all they have to know is just sort of have some idea you belong to some community, and people will kind of look out for you in the ways they can. And that's what's so beautiful. That's what this country used to be, and what it is not as much as it was anymore, and is not as much as it should be anymore.
Right.
And what we are doing here, I think, is starting to turn it around so that people can be positive and giving and good, as all of us have in ourselves to be and do, much more than we tend to do it in other parts of the country. That's why I love it here. I have a very fancy condominium on Wilshire Avenue, Wilshire Corridor, they call it, in Beverly Hills. I wouldn't tell you what it costs a month, but I get away from there as quick as I can to get right back here to this Anderson County. Every time I got here this afternoon at about 2 o'clock, I got on a plane in Seattle at 1:30 this morning.
Seattle?
To get back. Yeah, I spoke in Seattle last night. I travel a lot.
Yeah.
But I love this part of the country, and I get back here every time and as quick as I can.
Your home is very close here, isn't it?
I have
Just
one
right-
home across the way behind the trees, another one about a mile down. I bought a farm. After I built one home, I bought a farm from John Rice and Kathy Brown, and it had an old home on it, built in 1830. And one thing led to another. Finally, I decided to restore it. And now the restored home is so pretty, I'm going to move out of the new one into the restored one. The restored one has got more soul.
Yeah.
It has. You
Right.
feel better.
Yeah. It's
I
got
mean,
the
I don't know how
tradition.
many generations have lived in there. People come up who, it's known as the old Johnson place. And one of the most touching things is the people who come who say they were children, who grew up around there. They were the children, or they were the cousins of or somebody. And they just tell you about things that happened on that place at that time. And to me, it's just a joy to make it lovely.
You feel part of the tradition, the history.
Absolutely.
I think that what we're talking about really is a connection to something that matters instead of so many of the kind of plastic things that our society is.
I believe that, absolutely. I think that a cornstalk has got more real history and culture in it than maybe all kinds of plastic and chromium.
Definitely.
You know, it does. It really has.
I want to ask you one other thing. I'm fascinated. I read in an article about you recently that you do a lot of your writing on a cargo ship.
Oh, that's true.
What's that like?
Well, what it mostly is just getting away. I go out on a ship and I take nothing with me but what I'm working on. And I take my typewriter and a backup typewriter in case something went wrong with the first one. And I stay out periods from a month to sometimes 3 months, depending. You hear that noise, that's hoot. That's culture too. That's Appalachian culture. But, that's right. But anyway, I love to go to sea. My next trip is in December. I will go out from Savannah, Georgia to Rotterdam and back. And that'll be about 32 days. And I'll work like crazy. And then next summer I go out on a ship from New Orleans down again to Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay. And that's a longer trip, but I work right on ships, yes.
So you really do travel around the world. So
I'm a nomad. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Nomad with a lot of homes and a lot of different places.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's been a fascanating talking to you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fine.
It's a
Okay.
pleasure.
As long as you meet these friends.
Yeah.
Chesney's here.
Hello, sir.
Bullet sale.
Oh, yeah. That's great. That's great.
And he'd like me to take your picture with him.
All right, you got
Right
it.
there.
Should have.
I just took my last picture.
Everyone is smiling. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. All
We've
right.
got plenty of time. We'll talk.
Okay, buddy. All right.
We'll take care of it tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Where's